Hey guys, LevelCap here, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Gaming. Today we're taking a look at Call of Duty leaks, Crysis remastered, the PlayStation 5 controller, and much more. If you haven't already, subscribe and turn on notifications to catch next week's episode. The hype train for the next Call of Duty game is really starting to ramp up. Activision recently added a mysterious game called the Red Door to the Microsoft Store. The listing lacks anything in the way of details or info, but everything suggests it's something to do with Call of Duty. Many believe it's an alpha preview of the upcoming game, and some have reportedly found a way to launch the Red Door. Once launched, a splash screen showing a Call of Duty Black Ops CIA title image is displayed. However, getting beyond the title screen is currently impossible. The game closes while asking you to insert a disk or log in with an improved account. Despite the game being available and somewhat accessible, Activision haven't taken the listing for it down just yet. This has driven speculation that the elaborate Cold War Easter eggs discovered in Modern Warfare are part of a marketing campaign for the next Call of Duty title. A date on the Black Ops CIA image suggests that the game might take place in 1976. The original Black Ops spanned the years 1961 to 1968 during the Cold War. Perhaps the new game isn't so much a remake or remaster as it is a soft reboot of the franchise that follows the first game's events. Regardless of the exact nature of the next Call of Duty title, it's clear that we're getting something in the Black Ops universe. It's also clear that an alpha or some sort of early preview of the game will be or currently is available to select players. The franchise is having a phenomenal year in large part thanks to Warzone's success. It's almost a given at this point that Warzone and the next Call of Duty will be interconnected in some way. If not directly through gameplay, then in marketing or some other way. Hopefully we won't have to wait much longer. Historically, Call of Duty games have been revealed around April or May, and we're well past that window now, which makes the anticipation even more intense. Crytek may have pumped the brakes on launching Crysis Remastered for some platforms, but they're going all in on the Switch version. The big gameplay reveal for the remaster leaked a few days before it was officially supposed to go live, and the response was not great. Most players found the game to look pretty much identical to the launch title, if not worse in some ways. In response, Crytek announced the game would be delayed a few weeks or more to improve the game's state, except for the Nintendo Switch version. That version hits store shelves on the 23rd, and a new trailer showcasing the port's technical features honestly looks fairly impressive. The trailer was captured on Switch hardware running at 720p 30 FPS. That's not exactly up to the PC elitist standards you'd expect for a Crytek game, but considering it's even running on a Switch at all is somewhat of a miracle. The original Crysis is heavily bottlenecked by CPU performance, even on today's cutting-edge hardware. For it to run so well, low resolution and frame rate aside, on a device like the Switch says a lot about the remaster's quality. It gives us hope that Crytek have removed that CPU bottleneck and will finally get to play Crysis on max settings at a decent frame rate, hopefully. The Switch port features vegetation deformation, dynamic lighting, voxel-based global illumination, destruction, and more. All of those features and more are expected to launch with the PC version of the remaster. The Game Awards host, Jeff Keighley, gave us our first look at the PlayStation 5 DualSense controller in a video that featured the controller, content running on a PlayStation 5, and a Q&A with Eric Lempel from PlayStation. The controller is a much bigger and beefier version of the classic DualShock design. In many ways, it looks like Sony have borrowed some of the ergonomic aspects of the Xbox One's controller. All of the surfaces are wider, longer, and deeper. This should make the controller feel more natural and easier to hold on to. And that's not to say that the PlayStation 4 DualShock controller isn't comfortable, but it's always been noticeably smaller than the Xbox counterpart. As for the video's gameplay, it comes from a bundled PlayStation 5 title called Astro's Playroom. The most noteworthy thing about the demo are the load times. There's the usual flashy transitions to mask background loading, but it still looks way more seamless than we've seen on a console. The Q&A with Lempel didn't offer much in terms of new info, but he made it seem like pre-orders for the PlayStation 5 would go live sooner rather than later. Update 7 for the World War II tactical shooter Hell Let Loose dropped this week. It added a new map called Carrington and a massive animation overhaul. Players have praised the new map and animations for delivering a level of quality and fidelity that the game hadn't really seen before. The bad news is, performance has been a massive problem on the new map. Frames per second commonly dropped to the teens for many players, and the map's overall performance left a lot to be desired. The good news is the devs are on top of things. They released a hotfix yesterday to address some of the more significant crashes and performance problems. Additional hotfixes will be deployed as they're developed to address any other lingering issues. Microsoft are pulling the plug on production of the Xbox One X and the all-digital version of the Xbox One S. They'll be discontinued to make room for the Xbox Series X. The standard version of the Xbox One S will remain in production alongside the Series X. The Xbox brand is being transitioned away from last gen, current gen, and next gen. Instead, Microsoft will position the Xbox One as a more budget-friendly device compared to the Series X, which will be their premium console. It's also likely that we'll see a digital-only Series X, and maybe even a Series X Pro down the line. The Xbox One X being discontinued makes sense, especially if the Series X is the same price point. The next-gen console will run Xbox One games with the same or better enhancements than the Xbox One did. And thank God we're done with that news story, because I just don't want to say X anymore. In other news, Halo Infinite got a new teaser on social media. The gameplay premiere of Infinite is happening on the 23rd and will likely be a pretty major event, not just for Halo but also for the entire Xbox brand. Other games will also be revealed during the event. Helping build hype for the event is the recent launch of Halo 3 on PC. Many fans regard Halo 3 as the best of the franchise, and its port lives up to that lofty praise. It's a rock-solid technical feat with no major issues or concerns to report. The only significant issues seem to stem from the game's somewhat archaic networking in multiplayer and co-op. The reason these aspects of Halo games are so problematic is that the logic for the game is tied to a fixed frame rate rather than an internal clock. Basically, it's laggy and unstable because it's only running at 30 FPS and it's using legacy code from the mid-2000s. The good news is 343 are aware of this issue and want to rework all of the Master Chief Collection titles with improved networking. However, there is no ETA on that. Twitch has put the kibosh on the US Army's deceptive recruiting tactics. The Army recently started streaming on Twitch with its official channel and a variety of guest streamers. During the streams, recruitment websites were advertised as giveaways in the stream's chat, leading unsuspecting viewers to enlistment forms. This move is just the latest in a string of actions as the Army ramps up its recruitment aimed at gamers. The Army, Navy, and Air Force all have esports teams that stream on Twitch and have been the target of intense scrutiny by viewers and critics. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds Season 8 has a new trailer showcasing all the changes coming with the update. The map Sanhok is getting an overhaul. Sanhok was added to the game nearly 2 years ago as a smaller scale map following the release of Miramar. Since then, it's become one of the most regularly played maps because of its faster pacing. The overhaul improves the visual quality of the map, adds new locations, reworks old areas, and more. One major addition is the loot truck that drives around the map. Damaging this truck drops boxes full of loot. Fully destroying the truck drops high-tier items. PUBG Season 8 goes live on the 22nd for PC players and on the 30th for console. PUBG also crossed a new sales milestone this week. The Battle Royale game has racked up 70 million total units sold across PC and console. The last sales milestone for the game was set in June 2018 at 50 million units sold. Since then, the Battle Royale genre has exploded with competition, and despite a somewhat negative impression of the game on social media, PUBG has persisted as one of the most popular Battle Royales. In our final story this week, Metacritic is taking steps to counteract the effects of review bombing. At least in part, the change was spurred by the outrageously negative reviews many users left on The Last of Us Part 2. Many of the reviews were fueled by things that had nothing to do with the game itself and more how people perceive the game and the developer's intent with it. In response, Metacritic now has a 36-hour waiting period before users can post a review of a new game. The Last of Us 2 is a 20-plus hour game, and a mass influx of negative reviews were posted minutes after the game's official launch. And that wraps it up for today's episode of This Week in Gaming. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing off.